Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg, and this is Drawing with Fountain Pens. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a comparison of two pens that I think are very close, or in their sort of concept. They're both Japanese pens. This is one from the Midori MD Paper Company, and this is from Muji. And I think you'll see as I talk about them that they're both inexpensive, but designed to kind of fit a very particular kind of modernist aesthetic. And I think it's interesting how they've sort of gone at this idea of how do you make a fountain pen that will go with their other kinds of products, particularly Midori, which is so well known for its beautiful notebooks and for their paper. Are they able to make a fountain pen that really is the equivalent of that? Muji has two fountain pens, actually. I've already talked at length in another review about their aluminum pen, which I think is very beautiful and inexpensive. This is a pen that actually, the Muji pen is actually a pen that is made by Platinum. It's a kind of custom designed Platinum preppy. So I'll look at the two pens, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll use them to do a little drawing of a rose and give you my impression of these two inexpensive pens. But before I do that, please subscribe if you have not done so. That's the way to support the channel. It doesn't cost anything, and it really helps me do these videos. So here are the two pens side by side. This is the MD pen. You know that because actually they've put their name in this very simple lettering on the barrel of the pen. Muji, which is sort of their thing, doesn't have their name anywhere that I can see on the outside of the pen. When you first get the pen, it has a kind of sticker that says Muji. But this is part of their aesthetic, which is to create beautiful but almost generic-like products and not emphasizing the name brand. And you know, they do another fountain pen. This is the other Muji pen that is probably more well-known, which I think is really beautiful, and it's an amazing buy. I will say right now that if you go to the United States Muji website, they do not list a fountain pen that's available, but you can still get these pens on Amazon. This one, both of the Muji pens are under $20. Actually, right now, this one is under, I think, under $15. The Midori pen, you can get at Jet Pens, and it runs somewhere around $20. Now, I think it's very clear that both of these pens sort of harken back to one of the most iconic pens of the 20th century. This is the Parker 51, and that's particularly true of the Midori pen. I wonder a little bit right from the start that, you know, I don't mind that a company puts their name on their product, but it is kind of odd the way they've done this. It almost looks like the way that some kind of company might put their name on a pen that they give away as a freebie, you know, because it's so simple and looks like you can just sort of scratch it off almost. I'm not sure what I think about that. I mean, it's very pared down. The general aesthetic of MD Midori's paper products, their wonderful notebooks, is a kind of pared down quality. This color, this off-white color, appears in the covers of their notebooks. Here you have this much brighter white of the Muji pen, and where the Midori pen has a metal cap, the Muji pen is all made, as they tell you, actually the material, it's all polycarbonate, and it has a plastic clip rather than what appears to be kind of aluminum. I'm assuming the metal here is some kind of aluminum metal clip here, which is more traditional, more like the original sort of origin of this design, which is the Parker 51. The Parker 51, though, make no mistake, is a much more substantial, expensive feeling pen, depending on which model you get, because they made it for a very long period of time. So, right from the beginning, you have to sort of decide about the aesthetic. I actually really like the white of this pen, and I think that it kind of jives with the general design move towards white, which I think really comes with Apple in the 90s, I guess, is when they started making products that have or early 2000s, they started making lots of products with this kind of white, and you see it a lot in the architecture of Richard Meier and so many other sort of neo-modernists who sort of use this kind of bright white and these as a kind of ultra-modern aesthetic, and it's a little different from this sort of off-white. In fact, it's surprising because the MD pen, almost in the kind of brush steel that it has a kind of 1950s quality to it. It's kind of surprising to me that it has this sort of look almost like it's an office product from like an insurance salesman from the 60s. I think the type on the side really goes with that. Again, sort of critiquing the aesthetic, I'm not thrilled with the clip on the Muji. I think it seems kind of cheap and it's plastic. Sometimes they call this a kind of surfboard clip. And there's no doubt that I think that the other Muji fountain pen that I review at great length, I think is a much more interesting design than this. So I like this pen when you look at it from the top. I think it's kind of attractive in the bottom here. You can see it's not hiding the fact that it is made with an injection mold. It's a very inexpensive pen, but it's polished in a nice way, and it feels nice in the hand. It has a slight bump at the top where the cap is, which you can't see, probably can't see that on the camera, but you can feel it. So here's the top of the Midori pen. Nothing surprising. It has no exciting finial, but it's it's almost generic looking. And then on the bottom, you can see the molding plastic aspect of the way that's done. So it's as I can keep saying, it has a kind of 1960s, late 50s aesthetic to it. When you take the pens apart, it's surprising how similar they look in terms. But this, in the Muji pen, you get a much wider section, and I think it's a much more comfortable section. But they both choose to have this translucent section so you can see the ink coming into the pen. When I saw open the Midori, I wondered, I thought, oh, did they get platinum to do their pen too? But the big surprise, everybody says it online, is that this Japanese company that is so known for Japanese design, for whatever reason, has these pens made in Slovenia. While, as I say here, the Muji pen is a kind of remaking of a platinum pen. Now, when you get the Midori pen, it comes with a cartridge and it comes with a converter, which is a good thing. I have a cartridge in it now. The Muji pen does not come with a converter, but it will take a platinum converter. So I have one of those in here. The platinum converters are really good. The one thing, though, I would say about them is they're not so cheap. They tend to cost like $10 or more on Amazon, and so you can't just put an international converter into this, and you're going to have to use platinum cartridges too, if you're going to go the cartridge route with this pen, while the Midori pen takes international cartridges. So that could be an advantage that people feel is a good thing. Also, they might like the fact that this pen has a metal cap rather than a plastic cap. But you can see certain things that, when I think of Midori's notebooks and how elegant they are, beautiful, and then I look at this and I see the way the cap posts very securely, but then it comes across the title, the company name in this way. That's very unattractive. It doesn't seem like somebody considered that or thought about that. And that, I think, is surprising given how beautifully a lot of their products are. I don't think they spent a lot of time thinking about that. Another thing that I've noticed in the pen is when you unscrew it, it has this metal ring, which is very necessary for opening and closing it because it snaps closed, but it's not glued down or anything, so it's very easy that you're gonna lose it. In general, the pen feels rather inexpensive. Now, obviously, preppy pens are not fabulously expensive, but they're nicely designed, and the way this closes and it's all sort of made into something that is more of a piece is just works better and feels more considered. And because there is no logo, you don't have to worry about that, where that is. Here's another difference, the nib. So it's on the nib of the pen that the pen really tells you who made it, because the nib actually says that it is platinum. And it is it is exactly the same kind of nib that you would have on the platinum preppy. And they write very nicely and reliably. On the Midori pen, or the MD pen, you do get a custom pen nib made with, it says MD on it, and then it has this kind of falcon shape that turns in. There are some pilot nibs that do that. They claim that this makes it a better writer. I don't find that to be so particularly. I don't see any big deal difference about it, but it does look different, so that's interesting. And you see that both pens open and close, they snap close, which is nice, satisfying. I mean, I would say I prefer the metal cap to the plastic cap. And I like the off-white color. That's the part that seems most like the notebook. I think you can see, if you look at it this way, that looks so much better than that way. MD paper products, kind of tacky, weight-wise. Okay, so here it is now keep in mind, this is the Muji pen. It is a weight of 15 grams. This is, again, the pen that is based on the Platinum Preppy. This does have the converter and ink in it, so that is going to add a bit to the weight. If you take the cap off, it weighs just around 10.7 grams. There it goes. The Midori pen is surprisingly lighter, but it only has a cartridge in it at this point, so it's 4.2 grams. But that's surprising given the fact that it has the metal cap, and then when you take the cap off, it is 6.2 grams with the cartridge. I think even with a converter in it and ink in it, it's not going to get much heavier, and I think that does explain sort of the cheapness of this pen. It feels too light. Size-wise, these pens are almost exactly the same size. The Muji is about 5.5 inches, and the Midori is about 5.25 inches when you post them. Let's see what happens. Same thing, they're almost exactly the same size. This is a little bigger shine. Well, it's about 5 7/8. Ooh. And this is 5.5. Here's an interesting comparison. Here's the Metropolitan. Pilot Metropolitan. You can see that it's very similar in size. So now I'm going to do a writing comparison and then draw the same rows with each pen. This is rhodia paper. I think this is, it might be say that it's an extra fine. It's really sort of like a fine or a Japanese extra fine. This is diamine oxblood. And it's not quite a nail. There's a little bit of line variation. A little bit of bounce to the nib. It's not bad. There's feedback, but it is a fine. So you would expect that. Writes very reliably. I mean, people love Platinum Preppy for the money. I don't know if it even writes reverse quite well, actually. So it's quite reliable, and I think a good pen for sketching. I'm not a big fan of fine pens for journaling, and this seems to only come in this sort of fine line. There was some, can't get medium or broad. And here is the Midori MD Midori pen. It has a blue cartridge that came with it in it. This is rhodia paper again. And slightly, it's supposed to be a medium, but it's not really that different from really the fine of the Muji. And so, you know, we're talking about Japanese line width, so they always are rather fine. It's, you know, writes fine. It's okay. Very similar, actually. My one complaint is that I feel that this section, which is so long, is too narrow for my hands. I don't really like that. So it seems less comfortable. But it's pretty smooth. But if I had to choose between these two pens, I would choose the Muji pen, I think. in terms of writing. How does it? Does not write, by the way, at all in reverse. Both, I didn't do this. Let's just, I didn't do a wetness test. Let's see. Yeah, the Muji pen's a little wetter. So, in terms of writing, I would definitely choose the Muji over the Midori. In conclusion, I would say that in terms of the experience for drawing, the Muji pen was better. The extra fine had more control. There was more subtlety. I also appreciate the fact that you could use it with in reverse, so that gave it a better ability to do cross-hatching. I think it works really well as a drawing pen. I would say that the MD pen, though, is better for just writing because it's a little wider. I prefer the medium for that, and it is in the actual practice, at least when I was drawing, it was wetter and a little bit smoother. So, these things always depend on paper, which paper you're using, which ink. This is, I was using Oxblood, which is brown, and it's maybe a little drier ink than if you're using just a standard blue cartridge ink, so that can make a difference. I think this is a nicer design of a pen, the Muji pen. I also like the feel of the polished plastic. It actually feels nice in the hand, and I like the pen, the way the pen looks. However, I actually kind of also enjoy the MD pen. I kind of get the aesthetic of it. I think it would have been nicer if it was a little more expensive, heavier, and I think that's a real mistake with the section being so narrow. It just doesn't feel as comfortable. I wish that they'd gone back to the origin of this pen, the Parker 51, and just use its dimensions, and that would give you, I think, a much more comfortable pen. And certainly there are lots of pens that look like this, clones of the Parker 51 from China that actually write better and feel better and more comfortable, and so might be a better choice. I think that it's interesting to me that when you go on MD's own website, at least in the United States, they don't seem to be really pushing this pen. And I get almost a sense that this is a first try for them, maybe. Hopefully they'll come up with something better in the future. I think people would be willing to pay a little bit more for it. And if it was a more, substantial pen. So thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you found this was at all interesting, and I'll see you again later.